Now, y'all know I love to bring on different guests of different ilks, but my main thing is sportscasters and radio sports talk hosts. And I've had a myriad of them on this show in the last 10 years. But this fellow that I'm going to bring to you, like Jay Spivey, has a piece of my heart in Carolina. Do me a favor. Please help me welcome the host of The Drive with Josh Graham, the master of ceremonies himself, Mr. Josh Graham. And he joins me right now. What's going on, sir?
Master of ceremonies. Do I need to find what is the itinerary? Who am I introducing? Who do I who do I need to bring up next? What babies do I need to kiss? I don't know.
I knew you'd take that and run with it. I love it.
Good to be here.
Josh Graham joins us. We're going to do this as a get to know you kind of thing, a little mic to mic, a feature I love doing here on the show. And we're going to start with, where are you originally from?
I'm a North Carolinian. I was born in Baltimore, which is why I'm wearing the Orioles gear. My dad is a huge Baltimore sports fan growing up, back to the old Baltimore Colts, the whole deal. But I
Okay.
I was born in Maryland, moved when I was one, and all but 1 year of my life since then, I've lived in the state of North Carolina. That 1 year I was in Colorado right out of college, first college job, the whole deal, and
Hmm.
spent some time living in Texas as well, and but mostly in the state of North Carolina and all parts of the state. Centrally, outside of Raleigh, in a town near Youngsville, is where I grew up. Really, it's the city of Wake Forest, but that confuses people since Wake Forest University is in Winston-Salem, where I live
Right.
now. And I went to college in the eastern part of the state, close to the beach, where East Carolina University is at. They're the Pirates, of
Oh,
course. And yeah, so North Carolina is my home.
you're a pirate. East
Yes, sir.
Carolina Pirates.
Yes, sir.
So, what drew you to attend college at East Carolina? What was the draw there?
I knew I was gonna do media when I was in high school in the mid 2000s. It's a weird time with the internet where people were still figuring things out. And
Hmm.
I had a teacher at this charter school that I was at who was messing around with streaming and was a sports fan. And she presented to some of her older classes, juniors and seniors, hey,
Hmm.
who would be interested in calling basketball games? And all of them were like, I don't think anybody in this room could do better than the guy who's a rising sophomore who is this encyclopedic knowledge for sports named Josh Graham. And she was the wife of the principal. So I remember getting called down to the principal's office thinking I was in trouble. And they're like, no,
Yeah.
well, everybody in this class said that we should talk to you. And I created a broadcast program at this high school in Wake Forest, North Carolina, and called the games my junior and senior year. So when I arrived at ECU with a tape of things that I had already done, they had never seen anything like that from a freshman at that point. So I
Yeah.
got on the radio immediately, and then I started writing. John Forsland, who's now the voice of the Seattle Kraken and does national hockey, who is the longtime voice of the Hurricanes, gave me great advice in saying, you know, regardless if you want to pursue broadcasts, make sure you learn how to write. And I was with the newspaper, created a website that became a scout site with East Carolina, covering football mostly and recruiting. Worked for the yearbook there, the local TV station there, intern at a radio station. So at one point, I was working 6 jobs simultaneously while going to school, and they were all media related. And it got to the point where it was so bad, all the things I was trying to do, that the folks with student media were like, we can't allow people to do this. So now they created a rule that you can only work at 1 or 2 of these
Yeah.
outlets at once, because I worked at 6. And then
Yeah.
I became the voice of ECU women's basketball while I was there. And they jumped to the American soon after that, joining the likes of UConn and Gino Ariema, the whole
Hmm.
deal. But it was the reps that presented. It's not really known for being a journalism school, but it presented the reps if you knew what you wanted to do, opportunities to get your feet wet.
I thought I was busy. Man, from the way you met, listen, the way I got started in broadcasting, and I don't tell this story often, but I will today. The way I got started was purely off of an idea. I grew up in Chicago. I love the Chicago Bulls, and my favorite announcer at the time was a fellow named Jim Durham,
Of
who
course.
called Bulls games with Johnny Red Kerr. So I heard Jim first in '85, got hooked in '86 when they moved to another radio station, and was a faithful listener of Bulls games. So my dad brought me this brick of audio tapes, and said, "Don't miss a game." Well, December 7th, 1995, I was gonna head home, but my friend Kevin was heading to the gym at Chicago State, and he said, "Hey, I got a camera. Can you attach a microphone to the camera and record me?" I said, "Can you attach a microphone to that camera?" He said, "Yes. What do you have in mind?" So we attached the microphone to the camera. I grabbed a roster, got permission to tape, and there was my first
Cool.
play-by-play call.
Pretty cool. That is really cool.
What was it like when you did your first game at ECU?
I remember very difficult, some of the most difficult pronunciations I ever had. I remember
Oh
it was
yeah.
like one of the first games I ever did. There was a Hawaiian basketball player. I believe this was at Monmouth University, in New Jersey, facing East Carolina, and her name was Chelsea. Seems easy enough. Okay.
Hmm.
Chelsea. That's what's her last name? Kaluiokalani Glacken. Huh. So and since I assume this is a family show, I asked what her nickname was, and it was something I certainly couldn't say on air. So uh of course, the person whose last name is Kaluiokalani Glacken has a nickname that I can't say on the air. Of course, that's how.
Understood. Understood. I come up with nicknames a lot. When I was covering Marquette Catholic High School a few years back, living up in Laporte, I don't know what got into me, but there was a young lady who was starting her first game as a freshman. Her name was Morgan Crook. So they did the introductions. I recapped the lineup, and I did Marquette's lineup second, even though they were the visiting team.
Yeah.
And for some reason, out my mouth comes, "Morgan, I am not a crook." Every parent in front of me fell out laughing. It got down to Morgan, and she loved it, and she kept the nickname all year. And the parents are like, "How do you come up with these?" I don't know. The situation just has to hit me. But
Sure.
I too have had some difficult names to pronounce. Like I did an exhibition game with Chicago State with a Lithuanian team, and I got no warning. I got
Yeah.
no preparation. I barely had 20 minutes to prepare because they gave me all their notes at once. I don't know how I got through that game without making a mistake.
Hmm. Good work. Good work.
What was your first game or show you did away from when you graduated from East Carolina?
Um, I was in Colorado. I broadcasted high school sports, traveling across the state. It was a nice gig. Kind of amazing that, they didn't, other than the pro sports they had in Denver, when you get out into the plains, which is essentially Kansas, when you get
Yeah.
3 hours east of Denver, they
Mhm.
they love high school sports. And there was a local car dealership. I'm trying to remember the name of the car dealership, that it was a Ford dealership that would
Mhm.
give me a different car for every trip I went on, and it wasn't just for football and basketball. This was for, you know, softball and volleyball and
Volleyball.
wrestling
Wow.
and all. Like, I'd go across the state doing tournaments with the
Mhm.
sponsorships that they had, the people that loved this and supported it. And the one that sticks with me was, I remember being in the home of the Nuggets at that point, and the Avalanche, which at
Mhm.
that point was Pepsi Center. Now it's Ball
Pepsi Center.
Arena.
Mhm.
And I remember we were doing high school state championships for wrestling, and I'm thinking, why are they in a building that has 20,000 people? This is stupid. I'm in the hockey press box way up here with binoculars watching these matches. And then at one point it dawned on me, like, the entire building is sold out. It is sold out for high school state wrestling in the state of Colorado. And calling wrestling on the radio stood out to me that one year I was in Colorado after school.
You have fun doing it?
Yeah,
Just realizing there were 20,000 people there,
sure.
and
Yeah.
you
It's
And you were shocked to the I bet you were shocked to the gills when you wondered aloud, why am I in Ball Arena? And then you look down and there's 20,000 people in there for high school wrestling state championships.
yeah, it's certainly added to it for sure.
What's your favorite sport to call and your favorite sport to watch?
I don't call many sports anymore now that
Mhm.
I've been doing a talk show in North Carolina for the last 8 years and the last 6 in the Triad area of North Carolina, western part of the state between Raleigh and Charlotte. The last 6 years we've been doing that. And
Mhm.
but in terms of covering, it's I the amount of eyeballs that's on the NFL allows for you to do a lot of different things in the locker room and
Yep.
um, get and the amount of traction you get from those types of things makes that an interesting sport to cover. My favorite to cover probably would be college basketball, just because of the high level play we have in our backyard, where I
Mhm.
get to sit courtside at Cameron, I get to go to the Smith Center. And got to deal and cover Coach K and Roy Williams and now John Shire and Hubert Davis. And that's what makes this area special. That rivalry is a crown jewel of what we have. But it's not just those schools. NC State went to the Final Four for the first time since '83 this year. Wake
Mhm.
Forest is a really good team coming back, and they might be that next team knocking on the door too. It's unique that you have 4 high level programs in the same conference right next to each other the way that you have in the state of North Carolina. So that's probably what takes the cake for me.
Josh Graham, the man in charge of the Drive with Josh Graham. You can hear him on their flagship of WSJS down in North Carolina, or you can watch them online. It is a joy and a pleasure to have you on. Your show is great. I am hooked. I'm listening to it every day. Continued success to you, my friend.
No doubt. Thanks for doing this, Snowman. I'm glad we were able to do this. We'll have to do it again soon.
We will. We will. A break and then more stuff for y'all when we get back.